Stan Gibilisco here. I'm going to explain the variants or variations that can occur during a solar eclipse. When you have a situation where the moon passes directly between the sun and the earth. This can happen in a variety of ways because the distance of the earth from the sun varies with the time of the year. Would you believe that the earth is actually farthest from the sun in July and nearest to the sun in January? The recent eclipse that we had on the 21st of August 2017 was closer to July than to January. What that means is that the Earth was at its near farthest point called aphelion from the sun. So that would mean that the sun would appear the smallest that it could get in the sky. The difference is about 92 million miles at perihelion and 94 million miles to the sun at aphelion. And we were closer to aphelion, so the sun would appear a little bit smaller than average. That would increase the chances that the moon would totally cover the sun's disk at totality. If, on the other hand, we were at perihelion, there would be the maximum probability that the moon would fail to be large enough to cover the entire disk at totality, and what you'd get is something called an annular eclipse, in which the outer portion of the sun's disk looks like a thin ring, and you don't get that spectacular display like you saw on the 21st of August 2017. So we were at least close enough, far enough away rather, from the sun for totality to occur. Now the moon's distance from the earth also varies, and this is the way the moon's shadow looks. The totality, that is where the moon totally covers the sun, is a cone that extends just about as far from the moon as the earth is, about 250,000 miles, a quarter of a million miles, something along that line. But it varies a little bit depending on whether the Earth-Moon system is closer or nearer to the sun. The ideal state of affairs would happen when the Earth is at aphelion, so the sun's disk appears as small as possible, and also at what is known as perigee, that is, the Earth is closest to the moon, because the moon's orbit around the Earth isn't a perfect circle, just as the Earth's orbit around the sun is not a perfect circle. So the ideal state of affairs in all respects for a solar eclipse would take place in July, when the Earth is at aphelion, and when the new moon happens to be at perigee. So the moon is as large in the sky as it can get, and the sun is as small in the sky as it can get. That would result in the maximum period of totality and also the greatest amount of totality. So we were somewhere in between. The moon was big enough to completely cover the sun's disk, but it could have been a little bigger, or the sun could have been a little smaller. Now, there's going to be another eclipse across the United States on the 8th of April 2024, and that situation will not be exactly ideal either, but it'll be closer to it than this eclipse was. So rather than about 2 to 2.5 minutes of totality, you'll see something more like 4 minutes of totality, and the totality will be more nearly, will be more complete. The moon will be a little bit bigger with respect to the sun than it was this time, so you'll get a little bit more complete show. These three views of the Earth, the red, the green, and the blue, represent where the what would happen with the umbra, or darkest part of the moon's shadow, at perigee, in which it falls over a fairly significant part of the Earth, somewhere in between perigee and apogee, where the very tip of the umbra would reach the Earth, so the sun and the moon's disk would appear exactly the same size, and you might get 1 second of complete totality, but you'd still get complete totality. If, on the other hand, the Earth is too far away from the moon, and or the Earth is too close to the sun, this tip of the umbra will not reach all the way to the Earth, and you'll end up with an annular eclipse rather than a total eclipse. So the situation we had on 21st August 2017 was good enough, but it could have been better, and it's going to be a little better on the 8th of April 2024. I hope um, maybe it confuses you more, but the type and situation, circumstances for a solar eclipse can vary from eclipse to eclipse, and we had a good enough one, I think. The other factor, of course, is how good the weather is, and it was clear over a large part of the United States. This was probably the most watched, without a doubt, the most watched solar eclipse in world history. Maybe on the 24th of April, or pardon me, the 8th of April 2024, we'll get one that's watched even more. There'll be more people, it'll be a more total eclipse, and it'll pass over a more generally populated, a more heavily populated region of the United States, roughly from Texas upwards through the um, Middle Eastern part of the United States and ending up in Maine. So it'll go through a highly densely populated part of the United States. Stan Gibilisco signing off. Until next time, so long.